from North Texas, filmmaker J.D. Wilcox. He has created Who Shot Trump, a documentary. Who Shot Trump? You think you know, but you're dead wrong. J.D., give me a little background on you before we get started. Tell me about some of the previous work.
I've been a documentary filmmaker for almost 30 years, started a long time ago, worked in Hollywood for about 20 years, and then I went to North Carolina and worked on a local version of America's Most Wanted called NC Wanted, and we profiled wanted fugitives and unsolved crimes and tried to solve them. And then after that, I went to New York, worked on a really cool show called Street Court. It was kind of like Judge Judy, except we did it on location. And then I kind of retired and started just doing my own documentaries.
This new documentary focusing on what happened in Pennsylvania, in that field in Pennsylvania that almost changed the course of our country forever. And to this day, after that young shooter was taken out by agents, federal agents, we still don't know anything, nothing substantive about who this young man was and who helped him. Obviously, I think he would have needed some help in order to try to take out Donald Trump, and the lack of or the collapse of the security effort to protect candidate Trump back then. So tell me about what drove you to put this together. What can you tell me as far as what you were able to piece together through some of the digital reconstruction, some of the work that you did?
So we went back to Butler, Pennsylvania about 6 weeks after the assassination attempt, and we brought some modern forensic techniques with us. We did something called photogrammetry, where you videotape and photograph the entire area, and you also scan it with a laser, a LiDAR scanner. And then we take all of that data and reassemble it inside a computer, and what you end up with is a hyper-accurate Google Earth, basically. You have this 3D model that's extremely accurate that you can turn and look at different angles, and you can see where snipers could shoot at Trump and where they can't shoot at Trump. And you can use this photogrammetry, this model to calculate bullet trajectories and figure out exactly where things came from. And we did that, and during that process, we came up with very strong forensic evidence of at least one additional shooter, and maybe more.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's kind of...
And it's not just my opinion.
Okay.
It's fact. It's science. It's math. When everyone sees what we've uncovered, it's just undeniable. You're going to say, obviously, there was another shooter there. Who was that shooter? I'm not going to tell you who that is. I want everybody to watch the movie and figure it out for yourself. I'm not one of these people who likes to tell you what to think. I just want to encourage everybody to think.
Have you presented your findings to your local congressman, woman? In North Texas, chances are you probably have somebody that would like to dig a little deeper in this.
My congressman is Keith Self, I believe.
Oh.
And so,
yeah.
no, I have not.
Well, you're in North Texas. I'm sure there's bound to be a Republican near you that could help out with his effort.
The funny thing is, on the Congressional Task Force, there's so many strange coincidences that have happened during this investigation. We can talk about that some other time. But
okay.
The Congressional Task Force either didn't do their job or did it very poorly, because I would sum up their report as sort of a whitewash. It was meant to just say, okay, you have a lone gunman, just accept that fact, and we'll try and figure out how it happened and prevent it from happening again. They state for a fact on page 6 of their final report that Thomas Crooks is the lone gunman, but it's not true. They never offer any evidence that it's true, and I'll give you a bombshell right now. The Congressional Task Force report never offers any evidence that the body on the roof of AGR is Thomas Matthew Crooks. Nothing.
Do you touch on his associations, suspicious associations with anybody in government or outside government, or overseas some nefarious force or group? Do you visit that in in your documentary?
We touch on it a little bit, but there's so much unsubstantiated things going on in that area. I stayed away from that mainly because I know my sources have told me about the FBI's investigation, and I know that they have a ton of evidence that they have not released, including 1,000 interviews that they conducted. They only released 81 of those interviews to the Congressional Task Force. So the FBI is sitting on a giant pile of evidence, and I'm not willing to delve into mysterious associations when I know the FBI knows about those things and just needs to release their data. So there's plenty of theories about that. I've seen data that indicates that people that Crooks associated with had cell phones that were in Washington, D.C., and that the gun range that he trained at was frequented by government agents. I've seen all of that, but I can't substantiate or disavow any of it. So we talk about that very, very little in the movie. The movie is really more like a CSI investigation. It's not my opinion. It's not people's theories. It's solid facts. This is the science. This is the data. This is what it shows. And it's really undeniable. When you see it, you're going to say to yourself, how come I didn't know about this before? Because this isn't theory. This is fact.
Expert documentary filmmaker J.D. Wilcox joining me from North Texas. His latest work, Who Shot Trump, looking into what happened in that Pennsylvania field where 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Now, the feds, the Congress people, the committee that looked into this say that he was a lone shooter who was taken out. Now, J.D., the filmmaker, says, no, there was a second shooter, and he provides that in his documentary, which, by the way, I understand he is featuring in North Texas at the Texas Theater in Dallas. And you guys who are history nerds, why is the Texas Theater in Dallas famous? That's where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested back in 1963 after the Kennedy assassination. So let's go back to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. You mentioned earlier, final report in Congress. You know what? I'm kind of sitting here thinking there will be another report coming up. That's it? They've closed the books up in D.C. on this? Because I think they need to reopen the books and provide a more detailed report now that they have power, the Republicans do, up in D.C. When you said final report, that's it? There won't be another report from D.C. and all this
Not from Congress. Yeah, that's the final report of the Congressional Task Force was released on December 5th. And just a couple weeks ago, I think it was on Fox Business, FBI Director Kash Patel said that this case is closed. And Dan Bongino said there is no there. I'm quoting him. I don't think either one of them know what I know. I know from news reports that a lot of things that have happened in the prior FBI administration have been hidden from the new director and his deputy. I don't think they know what I know. On July 13th this year, they will know what I know, and I'd be very surprised if they don't reopen the investigation and take a look at
I hope so.
What really happened.
I hope, yeah. We still have lots of questions related to all this, and I think they need to be answered. So July 13th is the date, right, that you're going to be showing Who Shot Trump,
Yep.
your documentary?
July 13th at the Texas Theater at 12:30. It's a matinee, so you can still go to the movie and then go to work the next day. But I guarantee you, if you come see this movie, the world will be changed for you afterwards, because it's not 1963 anymore. You can't just shoot a presidential candidate and get away clean. The people who helped Thomas Crooks left a trail, and I followed those breadcrumbs, and I'm going to present that to the world on July 13th.
A bit more on the report, just curious. Did they find most of the bullets? Were they the same caliber? I mean, is that what you're working off of? They're different caliber? Or, I mean, what can you tell me as far as, because I'm sure they gleaned the area and they combed it with a fine, a fine-tooth comb to try to find all this. Was that in the congressional report, the final report, or what? I mean, what are you using here to try to make your argument?
So the congressional report relied on the FBI to provide them all of the ballistics data and information that they based their report on. And the congressional report says that the FBI traced 6 of the 10 bullets that were fired that day. And I'm quoting right from the report now. It says, except for one bullet hole that was in a hat, all of the bullets traced by the FBI originate from the north towards the AGR complex. Notice that they don't say all of those bullets they traced go to the gun on the roof of AGR. They just say towards the north, towards the AGR complex. That can mean anything. There are buildings behind AGR where a sniper could have been. There are parked cars along the road next to AGR, which is where Thomas Crook's car was parked, by the way. There were 100+ people at the fence line between the stage and AGR that were watching the show from the sniper could have been one of them. So the FBI it's almost like they're trying very hard not to say that the bullets came from the gun on the roof of AGR. They certainly don't say that. They only say they came from the north towards AGR. By the way, I'd really like to know whose hat had a bullet hole in it, but the FBI and the congressional report do not say. They just drop that in there. Yep, there's a bullet hole in the hat. We're not going to tell you who it is.
You going to post this online after the presentation on July 13th in Dallas?
Yeah, we're working with a distributor right now to get it released worldwide, but the plan is that after the premiere, not only will we release the movie, but I'm going to release my 3D model so that everybody out there who has questions, who wants to do their own investigation, can look at the model, can manipulate it, can look at different angles, and come to their own conclusions. I want everybody out there who has questions to reinvestigate this themselves and see what happened.
The name of the documentary, Who Shot Trump, will be presented at the Texas Theater in Dallas on July 13th. And we look forward to seeing it online whenever you're able to release that. J.D. Wilcox, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And if you or any of your viewers come up to Dallas and see the movie, let me know. We'll put you in VIP seats.
WhoShotTrump.us is the website, correct, J.D.?
Yes, it is.
WhoShotTrump.us. Look for his work, J.D. Wilcox. Be well, brother.